Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurudeva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There is one thing that we universally want, and there is no one who can say that they don't want it. And that is peace. Is it not? Every year, almost in all countries, you have peace conferences. But with every peace conference, we have one more piece of the world. Is it not? We all want peace, but we find our life is going to pieces. What is this enigma of peace? Everybody seeks it, and yet it constantly seems to evade people. We chase it, it seems to run away from us. All motivation courses, all religions, all spirituality, all meditation courses, all courses on various techniques of yoga, pranayama, etc. are all actually trying to show us how to attain peace, is it not? And yet, peace seems to escape from all of us. There are certain moments we all experience peace, especially if we go to sleep. Is it not? When we go to sleep, we experience peace. However, it is only temporary peace that we have when you listen to a nice piece of music, or you go to a spa, have a good aromatherapy massage, relax a little bit. Holidays are never relaxing because you run around in all these vehicles looking after your children and looking after your baggage, and going from place to place is not generally peaceful. We all seek peace, but peace seems to evade us at all times. These sessions that we are going to have for the next 5 days is to unravel these mysteries, that there are so many religions, there are so many different groups, there are so many different methods. But why is it that people are not attaining peace? It is quite evident that we see how many quarrels, wars are taking place. All this is taking place because there is conflict within us. The world is only a reflection of our own minds. You will see also that when there is conflict in your mind, the environment around you cannot be at peace, nor will you allow anybody else to be in peace. Does it happen or not? If we want world peace also, it is only possible with individual peace. Now, everyone is seeking this peace. Everybody is struggling for this peace. But what is this mystery that people do not attain it? In these one-day sessions, we are going to reveal to you what the great thinkers who practiced and discovered it have pointed out to us. The quintessence of the teachings by which we can immediately understand and bring into our practice. Now, people are very satisfied if even here, most of you come. If you are not getting some amount of peace, you wouldn't continue for 20 years. Or at least at some time you got some peace. No? But we're not talking about the peace that we get in a certain environment, even in satsang. All these places we feel a certain amount of peace that gives us confidence that there is peace available. But that everlasting peace, that peace that passes all understanding, that peace that will be always with us, the peace that unknowingly or knowingly we are seeking, attain it. There are some wonderful, wonderful statements in the scriptures, and I just quote them for you to know that from which depth they are coming. One of the highest books of knowledge is Yog Vashishta. The teachings that sage Vashishta gave to Ramchandraji. Another beautiful text of that caliber is Ashtavakra Gita. Bhagavad Gita we know, but Ashtavakra Gita. Then of course all of us are familiar with the Bhagavad Gita and the various other textbooks of knowledge, say Ramayana, Guru Granth Sahib, and of course the other scriptures of the world, Bible, Quran, etc. One of the most profound statements on peace is being given in Ashtavakra Gita, which says very beautifully, Aprayatnat prayatnadva mudho napnoti nirvritim tattva nishchaya matrena pragyor bhavati nirvritaha. See, if you see, day in and night we are struggling to get peace. We want peace, but we are struggling. How can the result of any struggle be peace? Tell me. When the cause itself is a struggle, how can the result be peace? Logical or not? And see, the irony is we are all struggling to get peace. We are always doing something to get peace. And that's so deeply ingrained in our psyche that constantly we are only struggling to get peace. But the more you struggle, the more you lose your peace. Is it not? Is that clear or not? No? The more you struggle, the more you lose your peace. Then should we not just sit down and do nothing? Will we get peace? By not doing anything also you don't get peace. By doing something also you lose peace. This is so beautifully indicated in different textbooks, but it misses us. No? Guru Nanak Sahib, in the beginning of Guru Granth Sahib, we find Japji Sahib, he says, Chuppe chup na hovai, je lahe raha livtar. You can sit down in silence, but nothing. You will not get peace. By struggling, you don't get peace. By sitting down and doing nothing also, you don't get peace. It reminds me, in India, they have nationalized all the temples. So these government officials go there to collect the hundi. They only go to collect the money out of it. Try with any other thing, they will not be able to do that. Any other religion, let them try it. But they will go there and then they will go and take. Those government officials have got no respect for the temple or the priest or the people there. In one of these temples, there was a very saintly person. Everybody used to revere him. Very calm, peaceful. He only sat beside the pillar of the temple. People would go, whatever prasad they collect, they would give him to eat. Most people thought also he's a beggar sitting there. But he never begged. He just sat there. Whatever people gave, he ate. Some people thought that he's a great Mahatma. He's been sitting there every day in that temple. So one day one of these collectors came there and saw this man sitting there. He said, why is this man sitting here? What is he doing here whole day? As the temple is only you come and you go. The priest said, we consider him to be a great saint. We are not going to tell him to leave. He said, no, you should tell him to leave. This is not a public property. It is public property, but it's not a public property. Why are they sitting here? It's not meant for homeless people. He got very angry, So that priest said, listen, he's been here for many years. He's never disturbed anybody. People consider him to be a saint. He's a saint sitting there doing nothing, eating only what food people give him. What type of a saint is he? No? He says, I don't know. You want, you go and tell him. But I am not going to commit the sin of that. No? So he goes to him and says, Hey Baba, what are you doing here? And the Baba just tells him, means sit down here and see what I am doing. Do what I am doing, then you'll know what I am doing. No? So he said, sit down here. He said, that's all that you do and people think you are a Mahatma. No? He sat for 2 minutes, closed his eyes and sat like this Baba was sitting. After 2 minutes, something like when you all do meditation, then slowly one eye opened, who's coming, who's going, and after 5 minutes he couldn't sit at all. He got up, did namaskar and went. You try do nothing, that also you cannot do, is it not? It is not by just sitting down that you do nothing. Neither by struggling you will get peace. Then how will you get peace? You want to know the truth? You want to know the mystery of truth? You cannot attain peace. Or then why did we come here? Why did we come here? Because peace is not something to be attained. Peace is already there. Before you walked into this hall, it was very peaceful, is it not? Then all started your highs and this and that, and then suddenly the music went on, the bhajan went on, and suddenly all of you became quiet. The bhajan sound was there. Then you got, shh, Swamiji is coming, Swamiji is coming, Swamiji is coming. For a few seconds, there was peace. And then, of course, the MC started, the chanting started, then the vice president speaks, and then everything, And then, while Swamiji walks on the stage, silence. Then he starts talking. Silence is gone, is it not? Yeah. Silence was there. We created disturbance in silence, is it not? Now, if we want silence right now, what do we have to do? Shut up. Is it not? I keep quiet and the peace is there. Peace is the substratum, the underlying principle behind this universe as well as our mind. You can hear my conversation also because behind there is peace. If there was chaos behind me, sound behind me, you can't even hear me clearly, is it not? No? When I stop talking, there is peace. While I'm speaking, you can hear me because there is peace. Peace is always there. All we have to do is remove that which causes the disturbance in peace. What is that which causes disturbance in peace? In Bhagavad Gita, while describing the man or person of perfection, the realized master, Shri Krishna has pointed out 4 things that disturbs our peace. He says very beautifully, Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumams charati nispraha nirmamo nirahankara sashantim adhigacchati. That person, adhigacchati, gacchati also means discovers, such a person discovers peace. Who? From whom these 4 are gone. What are these 4 that creates disturbance in our peace? Now, while we are explaining this to you, just now also I had a camp, predominantly all Westerners. And they all love meditation. Indians and the agitations. Yeah. So I had a meditation session with them. And one thing which is very important now as students of Vedanta, when everybody is listening, Of course, logically we are quite convinced, etc. But this is something, Vedanta does not speak about something post-mortem. It's not talking about something later on. It is something that you have to discover, and discovery has to be now. No? And everybody likes now, everything should be in the now, That's become the cliche word nowadays, now. Live in the now, So why not discover the truth now? Whenever we are understanding, let us see the truth now. Only when you see it is it possible for you to have complete faith in it. Not because my guru said it, not because my religion says it, not because somebody says it. The truth is evident here and now, and we must see the truth here and now. If you have seen it here and now, you have discovered the peace. Shri Krishna points out 4 causes that disturbs all our peace. Therefore he says, Vihaya kamanya sarvan. Who has given up all kamana. Now this word kamana we have explained many times. Not just desire, but an obsessive desire to achieve or want something. Or to acquire something. Desire rises in all our bosom, is it not? In fact, whenever a desire rises in our bosom, we are always hoping for some happiness, some thrill in the future. Don't we? Now, before I mention this word, you're all paying attentive. You're paying attention to me. Your mind is peaceful, no? But as you know, the safest examples I always give is of food. Because that's the safest. Nobody gets offended because we all like food. And many times people tell me, Swamiji, we come in the evening, at least here people eat and come. In other places, they come straight from the office. They say, Swamiji, and then you talk about food. After that, we can't pay attention to the class. We are only thinking about that food. And when you describe a pizza, or when you describe a gulab jamun, or when you describe a chocolate cake, Swamiji, it's so delicious that our mind only thinks about the chocolate cake. Happened to you or not? Now I mentioned chocolate cake, I made the mistake. Yeah? Your mind starts or not, no? Oh, how nice, if during these discourses, they would actually give us, because it would be nice that, when we walk in, we get one prasad, then we can have a cup of coffee while we are listening to the discourses. Why not like modern seminars? We should modify our satsangs, We have the cup of coffee so that at least we don't go to sleep, Yeah. The moment the thought of coffee has come in your mind, and the thought comes that I want a cup of coffee. Hasn't your mind got agitated? Till that want was not there, your mind was at peace. Is it not? Yeah. You got your iPhone 4S. You're at peace. And then they announce, iPhone 5 has come. Yeah. And Samsung offers its own, galaxy, Now, instead of galaxy of stars, galaxy of thoughts start in your mind. Should I go for the iPhone or should I go for the galaxy? Should I go for the iPhone? Should I go for the galaxy? No, I want both of them, Yeah. Then you tell your wife, she gets agitated. How many gadgets do you want? You got 4S already. Now you want 5 also, Yeah. Mind starts immediately its agitation the moment a desire comes. Does it or does it not? See it for yourself. The moment a desire arises in your mind, your peace is gone. We are not saying whether it's a good desire or a bad desire, or you should not have a desire or desire. No. Just recognize that the moment a desire comes into your mind, you have lost your peace. The mind keeps on repeating, I want that cup of coffee, I want the cup of coffee, 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 coffee. And the more the desire, more the agitation. And after that, if you get a cup of coffee, suddenly you feel more the peace. See, after my gentle speaking, if I keep quiet, there is peace. But the peace doesn't appear to be that intense. But suppose like a politician, I was talking loudly and telling you, you don't understand, Peace appears, no? So more your desire, when you get the object of desire, suddenly your mind is hushed for that brief second. And you think that, when that cup of chai went inside, garma garam, shanti. Then you think shanti is in the chai. Yeah. Just as when you married Shanti, you thought that, Shanti was her name. Yeah. Peace is lost the moment a desire arises. Recognize this. That desire may be evil, it will cause more agitation and disturbance. The desire is good, it will create agitations. If it is noble, it will get your mind active. We're not saying don't have a desire, but know that your desire creates the agitation or disturbance in peace. See it now, and every time you find your mind agitated, disturbed, whether you go for the desire or not, just recognize that that desire has created the agitation. And if you want peace at that moment, the moment you give up that, you are at peace. There was a beautiful fairy tale which was told. As a fairy tale, but some of these fairy tales are quite true, except when the princess told the frog, the prince who turned from a frog into a prince, told the princess, will you marry me? And she said yes, and they lived happily ever after. Now that's a fairy tale. But one day, one crow found a piece of meat. He was carrying it to go to one place and eat. Meanwhile, all the eagles, the kites, and all the other birds started attacking him for that piece of meat. And the poor guy was struggling, trying to save his life, till he realized that it is because of that meat piece that they are attacking him. All he did was drop that piece and he was at peace. The choice is then ours. I have a good desire, I want to carry on with it, I want to work for it, I want to struggle with it. Fine. It's my choice. I don't say that I'm disturbed because of it. But if I say that my mind is disturbed, I'm agitated, then the cause is the desire. Watch your mind. Don't accept anything. Whenever you find your mind agitated, disturbed, etc., is it not from desire? The fear of not fulfilling it, the anxiety or worry, will I get it or not get it, or the confusion, should I get it, should I not get it? Has this not all disturbed your mind? During sleep, you decide now, okay, enough, I'll think about it tomorrow. Now let me go of it. Then only you can go to sleep. Otherwise, can you sleep? Have you noticed that only when you give up that desire, even temporary, can you be at peace? Therefore, Krishna says, Vihaya kamanya sarvan. Pumams charati nispriha. See? So, whenever we desire for peace and happiness in the future, but that desire itself takes away our peace and happiness, and the temporary pleasure that we get out of it, afterwards we get attached to it. We possess it. We hold on to it. And anything that we are attached to also causes us sorrow or not? Does it cause agitation? Somebody, your neighbor's child has gone out today, Saturday evening, so most youngsters must be going out, no? Yeah. Especially if you got youngsters at home, Saturday night they don't stay at home, no? When you have little children and say your sister-in-law or your neighbors have got teenagers, they're only teenagers, they will go, they need to party, don't forget your times, etc. Wait till your teenager goes out late at night. Why suddenly now you are worried? Attachment, no? When you're not attached to, you're not worried about them. Anything or anybody you are attached to, you are worried. Because attachment leads to imagination. What happens? Your children have gone out on Saturday night, first thing you think is, they have not come back. Oh, are they in some problem? Have they met with some accident? Does it happen or not? I don't know about you. It so happened, I had two neighbors when I was growing up, no? One was a Shah, other was a Shetty. Yeah. Both of them wise, they went and married, village girls and they came. And they were lovely ladies, did all the housework, etc. And in front of us only, their children started growing, etc. But they also sent their children to their, village to study so that they get the culture there. I mean, nowadays we talk about abroad. That time if they came to Bombay, they thought they'd lose their culture, so they would send them to there, no? And those days, if anybody got a telegram, even before you opened the telegram, you cried. Because generally you got a telegram only when there is bad news, no? So the police, the telegram man came, knocked at the Shah door, yeah, and the lady she couldn't read English, So telegram first only panicked, she came banging at our door and I was at home. So I came outside and she banged at my door and she said, telegram. She was so agitated, so nervous, So I said, wait, Benji, wait. Let me just open it. Let's see, who knows, somebody's wedding telegram also. Let me open. And I opened and it said, son meets accident. In short words is to be, not more. Son meets accident. That's all. I just told son meets accident. Nothing else was written there in brief. She was weeping, crying. The other neighbor came out and consoling her. It just said accident. It doesn't say that the child it was dead. Then, they would write only accident, come, maybe just informing you that the child is okay, but met with an accident. Now, she was giving this such big philosophical explanation to her, and I was also consoling her, So she said, no, something more is written. So I looked at it and suddenly I said, no, but this is not Shah, this is Shetty. Now suddenly the Shetty lady started crying. Yeah. And the Shah is saying, just now you were counseling me. No, they were really speaking, there could be nothing there. What happened, Whoever you have attachment for, Attachment means you depend on that person for your love, for your happiness, for everything. You will immediately react or not. Attachment creates fear, fear creates anger, anger creates sorrow, See how the agitation starts? Attachment is the cause of sorrow. You get attached to a thing. See, just when when you get your first car, have you noticed? First car, anybody is even passing by, you're so afraid that it'll scratch the car, Now it is scratched, bruised, everything, doesn't matter, Because now more scratched and bruised it is, the more the insurance is going to allow you to buy a new car. Now you're not attached to the car, You're happy that it meets with some, minor accident so that you can send. But when you're attached to that car, you still want that car, You feel that your happiness depends on it. Tell me what happens. Even a scratch or even hint of a scratch and you're already agitated. And even that you're worried, even when people when they get their first car, have you noticed? how nothing should go spoiled. Afterwards, it's so filthy inside. No, nobody cares for it. Anything that you are attached to, any person you are attached to, the cause is agitation. This doesn't mean you don't love, you don't care. What I'm trying to say is, if you depend on anything, that is going to create worry, anxiety in your mind. Agreed or not? Check it out. Somebody else, this person is sick, you go, you sympathize, etc. Your own person is sick, see what happens? Even amongst your relatives, anybody is sick, you're not attached to that relative. You're not worried about that. Anybody you're attached to, see how your mind gets agitated. Does it or does it not? These are the two causes of the agitation of your mind. Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumams charati nispraha. Now you notice, because of this attachment, we create certain desires in our mind. With our memory that we have enjoyed something, we create in our mind. And what we get attached to, what has given us pleasure or temporary peace. Is it that? And again, to get that peace, we struggle to get that object of our want, so that afterwards we will have peace. For that temporary peace, we are again and again and again and again tasting. Again, sometimes you go to a place also, whether it's a place of worship you go to, and that time you got peace. If you didn't get peace, you'll never go back again. But that day you went and you got peace. Whenever you want peace, you'll tend to go there. You get attached to a place also. In presence of someone you felt peace, you will go and stay there. But then your peace becomes dependent on that. We need to do that. Go to a place where it is peaceful. Do certain practices, even spiritual practices that give us peace. But you can do any practice that you want. But you hold on to these desires and you hold on to this attachment, you will not have peace. Temporary, yes, but that permanent peace will not be there. And just to get that little peace, again and again we whip ourselves into activity. Once it did happen like that, One person took his wife after 25 years of marriage for honeymoon. After 25 years, finally they went on a holiday. And sitting in a boat, she is chatting away, but his mind is only on the shore. Because active men, they can't sit and chat. While she is talking about every small thing that's happening, in the house. Now we've come for a holiday, but she's taking, the sister-in-law, when she went to Switzerland, she brought me nothing. I'm also buying her nothing from here, Yeah. How rich her parents are, but how did she turn out to be so confused, But then what to say? Her mother is no less than that, She's talking, and these are mundane things for him. His attention is only somewhere. Then suddenly she asks him a question, because finally going, she comes to the question that, did you send the message to your son that remember to take his shoes and pack his shoes? He's now, because he's not heard the whole thing, he's not even heard that. So he said, did you do it? Huh? What? Now she's understood that he's not heard anything, You don't listen to me at all. She's upset. Get him out of the boat. But his mind is on this man who's sitting there doing nothing. He's just got one fishing rod, one fish beside him, and sitting there with a cap on his head, basking in the sun. Because those who are restless people, they cannot see anybody at peace. Have you noticed? You are sleeping peacefully on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and you think that today at least you can sleep till 11 o'clock. But those who get up, they'll make sure that you get up. Because restless people can never see you at peace. Never tell anybody that this is the time you are meditating. Yeah? That is the time only they will call you up. They'll call you up and you say, didn't I tell you that I was meditating? Yeah, that I was checking that you are meditating or not. Yeah? So he goes to this person and says, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Can't you see?" Takes his cap off. He said, "I've been seeing you for the last 2 hours. I mean, 2 hours he's with his wife, but he's watching this boy. You've caught only one fish and you're sitting here." So he said, "Then what will I do?" He said, "You should have by now fished at least 20 fishes." He said, "Then what? You should have sold the 19 fishes. Then what? Then you would have bought a better rod and better bait, and tomorrow you could have fished, instead of 20, 40 fishes." So then what? Then what? Then you make savings out of that. Then what? Then what? You get a boat and a net and catch more fishes. Then what? Then you start a fishing company. Then what? Then you go public. Then what? Yeah. Then what? Then what? Then you build a big house for yourself. Then what? Then you get married. Then what? Then have children. Then what? Then educate the children. Then what? You send them abroad to learn fishery in Norway. Yeah. Then what? Then what? When they come, you hand over the business to them, get them married, and let them and continue. They said, "Then what? Then what? Then you rest." They said, "Then what am I doing right now?" You whip up a desire to get peace, but you had peace already. Kama, spruha, attachment. You cling on to anything, then it will disturb you. And two more things Krishna says. Nirmamaha, nirahankaraha. Where there is this minus, that this belongs to me, and there is I-ness, this is me, no? Ego. Wherever these two are also, you will not have peace. As I told you, when somebody else has got a loss, you are a great philosopher, no? When you lose something, then what happens? It's a great disaster, is it not? I'm telling you, when I went to Hong Kong, this recession happens every 12 years, and every 12 years they think the world is going to come to an end. Yeah? 21st December, you're still waiting, right? Don't worry, we are meeting next year. Don't worry about it. My predictions are better than Nostradamus Inca's predictions, so don't worry about it. Yeah? So this recession hits every time, and those who are especially making a lot of money into speculations and all that, and suddenly overnight they are millionaires, overnight they are Rodpatis also, you know. I got this frantic call from this woman who calls me up and tells me, Swamiji, you must come to my house. I said, "But I'm busy right now." No, you have to come to my house. My husband is committing suicide. Please come. I went running to her house. First thing I go, he's one of those men who never goes to spiritual discourses, doesn't believe in Mahatmas. No, so yeah, he's just sitting there very depressed. And the moment I walked in, "I know my wife has called you. Why have you come here?" So I said, "Since you know your wife called me, I've come because your wife have called me and she's got equal rights to the house." Yeah? I know why she's called you. Yeah? Don't stop me. I'm going to do what I am going to do. So I said, "I'm not come to stop you. I just wanted to know how you're going to do it." How are you going to do it? So he said, "What do you mean?" I said, my work is only to facilitate. Yeah? How are you going to do it? No? Because if you think of jumping from your penthouse, sometimes even if you jump from the 32nd floor, you might fall down and you may not die, but you might break a limb or something like that. Then you will be lame, without a hand or without a shoulder or whatever. Really painful to live such a life with multiple fractures. Or and I better not give ideas in case anybody. But anyway, you all have survived recession, so you don't worry about it. I said then, if you cut your hand and bleed, but make sure that you don't put it under a cold fountain like the Indian film heroine. Yeah? Put it in hot water. Then the blood will drain out. But then also, what? Suppose the blood drains out from your brain before your heart. You'll get a stroke and you'll be paralyzed like a vegetable. Then all your life you'll be like a vegetable and they'll save you to keep you as a vegetable, Terrible life, But do it Indian style, Just put kerosene on yourself, But if that time your wife comes and puts water on you, then you'll be the Phantom of the Opera, Yeah. I'll tell you, simple thing is, what? I know a chemist, I will bring you potassium cyanide. Yeah. Just put it in your mouth. Khalas, finish. Guaranteed, You say, you're a Swami or what are you, I don't want to die. I said, then that is my expertise. Yeah? I can teach you how to live. So he said, you don't understand. You don't have a family. You don't have this thing. I made so much. I came from India with only $20. Those days you were allowed only $20 to take abroad, if you remember. Many of you must have come like that. There were only $20 I brought with me, And with that $20, I made 20 million. And overnight, all that was gone. Overnight. What do you think? If I don't die, what will I do? I said, listen. At the moment also, if you somehow, take jewelry, etc., 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 how much do you think that you would still have? He said, don't tell anybody, but about 200,000. He had already calculated. Yeah. I said, an immature youngster who came from all the way from India without any contacts, without any experience, out of $20 made 20 million. Today an expert like you, from 200,000, you can't make your 20 million back again? You want to go and die? I give such a motivational talk. He was so inspired. He said, yes, I can do it. I said, yes, you can do it. He said, yes, I can do it, And luckily these markets go down and suddenly they come up also, After 20 days, the markets had come up. He gave me a phone call and he said, Swamiji, and I never used to believe in Swamis, but, thanks to you, I am alive. And you know what? Not only 20 millions, I made now over that 3 million, I'm so thankful to you. I want to come and see you. I thought you would bring at least $1 million for donation. Normally they don't donation millions. At least they would bring $100 for donation or $1,000 for donation. I mean, I've saved his life, not for me also, from that knowledge which gave, So, but he came with a big basket of fruit and thanked me. But that day I was very sad. So he told me, Swamiji, you don't look like a motivating self today. I said, when did you meet me? Only once. What do you know? I said, what is this Hong Kong of yours? Even in India, it has never happened to me. I was going in the bus with just $2 in my pocket, to buy the ticket for the bus, And that too also somebody pickpocketed me. And look, my pocket, I've just come back, My pocket also is cut. 2 pairs of clothes I have, that also gone, So he said, Are, my 20 million went, and you were such a philosopher. You motivated me. Your $2 are gone and you're crying. I said, yeah, that 20 million was yours. This $2 is mine. Isn't it? Somebody's 20 million gone, no big deal. But that $2 gone of mine, it affects, is it not? When there is there is agitation. There is disturbance. See, one of my friends was getting married. He had no family, etc. when we were in college. And we asked, parents in the village said, you go marry anybody you want, anyway you're not in the house. So he had no relatives, nothing. They couldn't afford to come, etc. So we decided that as friends, we'll pitch in some money and we'll get a small Kalyan Mandapam, something, and we'll get him married. So, and he had no relatives there, so we only sent out invitation to all our friends. A marriage means something should be there, and only we ordered ice cream for everybody, so at least they come there. Now, as you know, in India, at least those days, nothing was on time. Poor guy had made a suit for himself, and he got the pant but not the jacket. Last moment he asked someone, one of our friends, and that friend had a checkered sport. So just to save his marriage, he gave his jacket to him, no? And because of that, he made him the best man. Now, the best man is supposed to stand at the door and greet everybody. Now, whoever came, they did not know who the bride, who the bridegroom. But these brides are all decked up, so you can recognize the bride. Bridegroom, they all look the same because everybody is in court suit at that time, no? So everybody would come and ask, who's the bridegroom? And this man used to say, this friend of ours say, the one in that sports jacket? That's the bridegroom, but the jacket is mine, huh? Finally, he got so upset, the bridegroom, he said, listen, why do you have to say the jacket is yours? At the moment I'm wearing it, it's mine. Don't tell anybody that it's your jacket, no? So next time a person came, he said, who's the man? That man with the sports jacket, but the jacket is not mine, it is his. He said, but why do you have to tell anybody it's not mine and not his, Why are you trying to bring that out? So I got very upset. Somebody came and asked him, who's the bridegroom? That one with that checkered jacket. But I don't know whose jacket it is. See, when anything you see as how your mind is always on that. Can you see that? How your mind is constantly on that. You invite your friends for a tea party, and you brought this best crockery that you're trying to show off to them, that you bought. It's not one of those, one of those Bunnings crockery, I don't know what Bunnings or whatever it is. Yeah. Manning's crockery or, Maya's crockery, whatever it may be, whatever. Yeah, it's not one of those, but they have been brought from, Holland and whatever. I have no idea, but I'm just giving an idea, okay. You know better, but, it's got from somewhere from Europe, and, it's very special crockery. If somebody drops and breaks it, they say, good luck. Your tension is going on because your whole set is gone, no? And when that person goes to the other person's house, look at how she is worried about what you're going to do with her crockery now, is it not? Now again, when you say my, in conversation you have to say my, is it not? Next time, don't say like that, that when your husband comes there and a pretty woman comes and says, who's that handsome man? Not my husband. You hold on to say my husband, but have no sense of myness, no? Yeah. And it's like that, people attend all these spiritual places and they go, मेरा मुझ में कछु नहीं सब कुछ है तेरा तेरा तुझको अर्पण क्या लागे मेरा nothing is mine मुट्ठी बांध के आया जग में हाथ पसारे जाएगा you came empty handed you go empty handed nothing is mine you keep hearing this from the platforms so one man such went and one day he was walking at the airport and he kept his bag down police security immediately came and security asked whose bag is that not mine. And when they announced he picked up the bag, the police asked him, you said just now not mine? See, in conversation you have to say my, is it not? But don't have a sense of myness. Even our children have been loaned to us by the Lord or nature. You are trustees. When you're a trustee, you look after it very well. But you don't think it is mine. Is it not? The moment you say it is my, other than concern, agitation starts. See, as a trustee also you are concerned. Wherever I go, as a trust, so many things are given to me, whether to stay in an ashrama, etc. I am concerned. I look after it very well, but I am not worried. The moment you add this is my, then you will get agitated. Remove that sense of myness because there's nothing really that is yours. Even this body you cannot call it as yours because one day that is also going to betray you. The moment my comes, your mind gets agitated. Then the next thing is this ego. Just recently I was somewhere and as you know, in our Chinmaya mission, there is no VIP seats, nothing. Anybody comes, first comes, come and sit. But sometimes, a person has to come and do the aarti, sponsorship, etc. are sitting in the front and you might put some seat there, This person had the opportunity that day to drive me, and he was a president of some India club or something like that, etc. He was driving me, and since he was driving me, he came, and as such, those who drive me, at least they should get some seat. Nobody had reserved any seat for him, as usual people took for granted. And finally, after he came and brought me, and being president of the India club, etc., and got the second row to sit, was highly offended. People don't give me that respect. I brought Swamiji. I'm the president of India club. I'm a special invitee. He felt offended. But while I was coming in the car, the driver was driving the car. And I realized that the drivers, here everybody drives themselves, but these places, the boss and the drivers are waiting outside for 2 hours. Our discourses are not only for the bosses, they're for everybody. And very often the drivers, they will ask others, what did Swamiji say? What did Swamiji say? Because they drive a day in and out. So I realized the driver knew English. So I told the driver, these discourses are for everybody. Why are you sitting outside? Tell the other drivers also to come and sit inside if you all want to listen. He was so honored. And when he came in, as usual, there is no distinction. People brought him and put him on wherever there was place, say the 10th row somewhere, He felt so honored that he was given the place on the 10th row, and so offended that he was given place on the 2nd row. See how relative it is? This ego. We take up a certain identity and say, this much I must be respected, this much I should be, if not, then this much I will be offended. It is only our own estimate of our self. Wherever this ego is there, this one said like this to me, what does that person think to treat me like this? Does not get agitated. Many years ago, I had to take one ordinary film actor, not even such a superstar, And abroad, though nobody knows, the Chinese don't know him or nothing like that. But it's like, finally I just told him, he was quite a young actor at that time. So I just told him, I said, I don't think so these Chinese know you. It's okay, you can put your hand down. Then, when I was taking him to the hall where he was giving the performance, where we all used to give performances as youngsters, So I was taking him there. There was a drama. We were also doing the drama. And he had a special, because he was an actor, film actor. So he was called there, so that will have a little bit of limelight. Now, the entrance was only from the front. No, I can't go from here. I can't go from here. So I just told him, I said, there is only one entrance now. Either you go inside or don't go inside. See, again, whatever estimate we have ourselves, look at the poor agitation that the poor guy was going through because of that ego. I must be respected like this. I must not be seen like this. Whatever you have an ego. Now, in the world, you have to have a certain status, a self-estimate, a certain standard. That's okay. But ego, that this is the way only I should be treated. How the mind gets agitated. Is it not? The moment you understand that all the agitation arises from our ego, our sense of possession, our attachment and desire. These 4 things. The moment you realize these are the cause of your agitation, then whenever your mind is disturbed, don't do anything. We're not telling give up right now. Watch your mind and detect what is the cause of your disturbance. Is it an anxiety for the result of your desire? Is it a worry? Is it a disappointment for not attaining your desire? Recognize it. Most important is first recognize it. Is it because of your attachment or dependence on someone or something? Is it because this is mine, that's why I'm worried about it? What if it was someone else's? Would I be worried about it? Fourth, what does it matter what people think about me or treat me as when I know who or what I am? No? Just see how your mind gets agitated. Watch this. And I'll tell you one secret. I told you, no? Yeah. I'll tell you this secret. Do it and see it. If I tell you some very difficult, meditations, etc., none of you really going to do it. Though you think, Swamiji said something really wonderful. But this is meditation. What are you supposed to do in meditation? Not do something else and get agitated. As you will be studying now in meditation, I'm going to take that section. All this is important to understand when we come to the topic of meditation. Yeah? Whenever your mind gets disturbed, just become aware of the cause of your disturbance. It will be magical what will happen. Just magical. But become aware, because one thing is for sure. Your mind does not want this thing or that thing. When your own son becomes a cause of your pain and agitation, you will ask your own son to leave the house and go. Is it not? You think you will not, but you will. Your mind cannot bear agitation. That's why we are constantly seeking peace. But the delusion which is created is that everything that causes us agitation and sorrow, we consider that to be the cause of our peace, not the cause of the loss of our peace. This is something very simple, but you have to be attentive throughout the day. Watch. And your mind actually wants only peace. It doesn't want an object. It doesn't want a situation. It doesn't want a person. It thinks that it got some peace when it got that thing. Yeah? It thinks that this person, when I'm around, gives me peace. But what happens when you're around that person who gives you peace? Recognize that, you will find the means for peace. Discover it within yourself. We are just showing it to you. You have to discover it. And once your mind discovers that this is the cause of my illness, this is the cause of my disease, this is the cause of my agitation, you know the magic is? There and there your mind will itself reject what it is attached to. Drop it immediately, because your mind cannot bear agitation. Peace is your nature of your mind. Therefore, the great Ashtavakra said very beautifully, Aprayatnat prayatnadva mudho napnoti nirvritim tattva nishchaya matrena pragyo bhavati nirvritaha. That a wise one coming to know the truth, tattva nishchaya matrena. And what is the truth? That peace is my nature. Not only attains peace, but becomes peace himself. Once Puja Gurudev himself wrote a letter to Taponji Maharaj, his guru, when he went wandering as a student. He came across Ramana Maharishi. You must have heard of that great saint. And you know that most of the time Ramana Maharishi was just quiet. Gurudev went, experienced the peace and quietude in front of him, but wrote back to his guru that here is a man in whose mere presence you feel peace. Should he not be revealing to others, talking to others about it? Which Ramana Maharshi did very little. Updesar and one or two, Shouldn't he be talking to people and, why does he become quiet and he just sit like that? How beautifully Taponji Maharaj has written. He says, when you attain that state is so peaceful, that saints become one with that peace. No longer they are peaceful, they are peace themselves. If you attain something, you will lose it. But when you discover it as your nature, and when your nature is disturbed, find out what causes the disturbance. And once you found what is the cause of disturbance, and you just become aware that this is causing me disturbance. It's like going to a doctor. When you are sick, he may give you this medicine, that medicine. But the cure is possible when he has found out what is the cause of your pain. Then the remedy is very simple. Otherwise, he can go on putting medicines in you. Keep on giving medicines to you. Nothing is going to happen if the cause is that every day. Now, he gives you diabetic medicines to reduce your sugar, but you keep on eating sugar every day. What is going to happen? Then the doctor, then the wife goes to him and reports to him, every day he's been eating sugar. Now, once the doctor knows about it, he should have known, but these doctors don't. When the doctors know that he's eating sugar, then doctor has to tell him, I'm giving you no medicine, just stop the sugar. Is it not? Same way, let your mind detect what is the cause of its agitation. Right? Now, every session we will end with a meditation. I want you to sit straight, close your eyes. Think of what is it that disturbed your mind today. You have a memory of it? Now see what out of these four has caused this disturbance. Was it an anxiety for a desire? Fulfillment? Or was it a disappointment? Or was it an excitement? Was it some fear due to some attachment? Was it a fear of losing something that belongs to you? Or is it that someone hurt your ego? Or there were certain expectations? Just recognize what was the cause behind it. See, even while standing apart and watching, how your mind becomes peaceful. Assert to yourself, this peace is my nature. Shantoham. Now repeat to yourself, I have a choice of being agitated or peaceful. I choose to be peaceful. I choose to be peaceful. Open your eyes gently. So to summarize, peace is existence. It is ever there. It is our nature. It only gets disturbed when there are these four factors. And what we have to do is recognize what are these, which are the causes of our agitation, expose our mind to it. Now, how in day-to-day activity we can do that? We have no peace. Our mind gets agitated and carried away by desires because our mind is not on our duties. Idle mind is a devil's workshop. Yeah. When there is dharma palan, when you live according to your nature, performing your duty, there is peace. This is what Bhagavad Gita says, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. This is what Guru Granth Sahib says, hukum rajai chalna nanak likhya nal. This is what Jesus says, thy will be done. Keep that in mind and do your duties. When you follow dharma day to day, your mind is at peace. Second is, when there is strife and conflict, where there is no love, is it not? When Kaikeyi forgets her love for her child, she forgets another mother's love for her child. I and my came in, my son Bharat, her son Ram. Where love goes away, there is conflict. Where Bharat's love is there, Ramchandraji comes back. Is it not? Where there is love, there is peace. Where there is lust and attachment, there is agitation. That's why Bharat asked Kaikai, yeah, did you love me? Did you think about my welfare, or only you thought about your welfare through me? Because my welfare is in serving Ramchandraji. Yeah? Your welfare is to be Rajmata. So don't tell me it was love for me that you did it. It is because of your attachment. See, where there is love, there is no lust, no attachment. Right? And where there is knowledge of oneness, there is love. See, these three. Now you see, all your sadhana in Vedanta over the years, what you've been doing? Emphasizing that fulfill your duties to the best of your capacity without anxiety for the results. Cultivate in you love for everyone, which is possible when you love the one who loves everyone. And when you have the knowledge of oneness, then only you can love everyone. So in day-to-day activity, you will have peace when you follow dharma, hukum. When you have love in your heart, not attachment. Love is selfless, attachment is selfish. And when you have the knowledge of oneness, which is what? Dharma, from which you do karma. Yeah? Bhakti, devotion, and jnana, knowledge. Now you see what you've been studying in Vedanta so far. Practice it. You are at peace. This manner, each day. Now all of us want to be happy. Yeah? What is the mystery of happiness? We all want in our life love. What is the magic of love? We hear so much about meditation. How can we have easy, spontaneous meditation? Yeah? And last but not the least, the greatest of all mysteries that remains ever mysterious. So these 5 sections that we divide into individual topics. The individual topics also people can hear, and we are completing a topic. Yet there is a beautiful link between the topics that will give us a complete program for living our life effectively, to have moment-to-moment peace and happiness here and now. Enough of thinking that you're going to do it later. It should be here and now. And we are pointing out to you simple methods by which you have to do it. If I tell you have to spend so much time doing it, you will not be able to do it. So, these simple methods are there. These are so universal, these talks, that it applies to everybody. Please let even your Western friends, etc., know about it, and especially bring all your youngsters, so that they benefit from these life programs. Otherwise, they'll be searching here and there. All life goes in searching. Lifetimes go in searching. And lives also go in searching if you don't have the right knowledge of it. So this is how these sessions are going to go on. And every day we will have some guided meditation and some very important knowledge bits in meditation we will give you. So that when we come to the topic of meditation, you will understand what meditation really is, and we'll have a longer session of guided meditation. So these 5 days make it a program of complete self-development, and we are giving you all these in beautiful capsules. We'll conclude now with the Shanti part, prayer of peace for everybody, and after that, these yajnas are possible because of the yajmans who make an offering for all of us to benefit. So we give them opportunity to come into the Aarti as well as express our gratitude from all of us. So wait for those 2 minutes till we express our gratitude to those people through whom we are also being blessed. So we seek blessings for them, and through them we are also blessed. So we will invite them on stage to do the Aarti, and after that we'll conclude. Also, as you know, that there are lots of books, CDs on various texts, topics, etc. Some of you are already familiar. Each time new set of CDs arrive for you, those who especially listen at home and contemplate. For those who have come new, big amount of literature of books, CDs, cassettes are available for your children, for your youth, for yourself at different levels of your understanding. Please browse at the bookstall and take some gifts for yourself, for your friends, especially during the event. Rather than giving them wasteful things, give them something that will be useful to them. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.